Hello and welcome to day 2 of our 5-day Get Out of Your Comfort Zone challenge. I am so glad you're back, and I hope that yesterday was really helpful for you and that you began to create your chart. I know I've got charts from a whole bunch of people. If you have not done your chart yet, I did mine. If you have not done your chart yet, it's not too late. You are not behind. You can do this at any point in time. And I actually really challenge you to do this on a regular basis, to recreate this chart. So if you haven't done it yet, take some time. You can go back and watch yesterday's video and learn about it if you haven't watched yet, and learn how to do it. But we're going to go through this today, and I'm going to take you through mine so that you can sort of see what I've done and where my thought process is. And maybe this will help you take yours to the next level. And I'm going to give you that next piece because this is step 1, starting to create this. But what do we do with this chart? That's what's important. Just writing it out it doesn't do much until we take it through. So the first thing that I really want to talk about is the importance of having a comfort zone. I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I had a couple of people who reached out to me who said, I don't have a comfort zone. I'm living. Everything in my life is living in the fear zone. What do I do? So I want to take a second and backtrack a little bit and talk about the importance of a comfort zone. And if that describes you or somebody else that you know that maybe you're helping, that there's really no comfort zone in there, that's your first step. You want to make sure that you have some things in this comfort zone. This is really important. And we're not working to get all those things from our comfort zone out of our comfort zone. We need that comfort zone. Why? Why do we need that comfort zone? Think about it. You have a nice, comfortable bed. You have someplace that you can go and relax. You have something that supports you. That's what your comfort zone does. Your comfort zone gives you support and lifts you up when you're working in the fear zone or the learning zone or the growth zone in other areas of your life. You need something mentally, emotionally, physically. You need something to fall back on, to give you that support, to give you that comfort. It's really important. Think about a young child. When we have a babies, we learn to comfort them. We comfort them starting from the moment that they're born. We hold them, we rock them, we give them a pacifier, or they find their finger, at some point they find their fingers, or they find how to use their pacifier. They find that thing to soothe themselves, to give themselves comfort, because that is incredibly important. And that's a very, very, very important skill that we have to use, that we will use through our entire lives. So if you find yourself that you don't have much in your comfort zone, that is your first step. Everybody doing this is going to be in a little bit of a different place in here, and that's okay. That's cool. That's great, actually. That's your first step, is to make sure you have some things in your comfort zone. So what is a comfort zone? What is it, and what kinds of things belong in that comfort zone? I'm going to start with my list right here. We're gonna start here in this piece of it, okay? So my comfort zone, where do I find, and you can see I've got some arrows. I'm going to take you through all this in a little bit. But in my comfort zone, my family is a great comfort to me. My husband, my kids, my mother, my sister, all of those people are a great comfort to me. Sometimes if we don't have close family, we have to find our own family. We have to create our own family. Some of my favorite people in my life are my family by choice. Some of my really close friends, we call each other family by choice. And that's awesome, right? Those people are comforts to me. Those are people that I can pick up the phone and call and just vent, and they'll hold space for me, and they can vent and I can hold space for them. Those bring me comfort. They're people that I can just go up and get a hug from. That's comfort, right? Those people. I don't want those people to move out of a comfort zone. I don't want them to go into the fear zone. They might go into the learning or growth zone if we want to build more of enhance our relationship a little bit different, but I want them in my comfort zone, right? So my next thing that I want in my comfort zone, these 2 things are things that I'm working on moving out, but I'll go through them. What else is in my comfort zone? Food. Food is in my comfort zone. I don't want it there, and that's going to be something I'm going to expand on in a minute. But I'll tell you, from a very young age, that was something that I've struggled with. Does it serve me well in my comfort zone? No. So I'm going to talk you through how I'm moving that out of my comfort zone and how I've been working for quite a while to move that out of my comfort zone. My daily work routine, very much a comfort zone thing. That's a good thing. Sometimes for a while it served me well that I was really comfortable with it. But you'll see I'm moving that out because I have some big goals I'm going to talk about in a minute. My homeschool and my family routine. That is very much in my comfort zone and I want it to stay there for a while. So we started homeschooling during COVID, November, in 2020, we started homeschooling. And when we started, that was very much in the fear zone. It went from the fear zone to the learning zone and even into the growth zone. And we went through all that. And now we found a really comfortable place. And right now, I want that to stay in my comfort zone. In the future, we may make some changes and it may go back through this again, through this zone. But right now, it's a really good place. This homeschool family routine, we've got everybody really comfortable. Travel. Travel brings me a lot of comfort. I love to travel. I love to see new places. I love to take my kids on crazy fun adventures. That's a really comfortable place for me. But I will tell you, it wasn't always comfortable. Again, a few years ago, it was very much in my fear zone. For me to take my kids traveling by myself without my husband, that was a very scary idea for me. And can I do it? Can I handle it? What happens if they start fighting and I don't have another parent here? All the stuff, right? All the fear stuff. And we did it. And I went through the learning zone and the growth zone. And now it's really in the comfort zone, right? Because I told you yesterday, as we went through that awesome graphic, you have your comfort zone and then your fear zone and then your learning zone and then your growth zone. And that learning zone, if you're not, don't jump into growth, becomes comfort zone again. Growth, the next thing is it becomes comfort zone again. And sometimes that's okay. So for these things, right now, my homeschooling family routine, I like that it's back in a comfort zone. We found a good, comfortable spot. For my travel, it's a good, comfortable spot. For family, same thing. When you first are creating that family, you've got some fear. Is this going to work? When I met my husband, the dating thing, right? There's the fear and learning about each other. Even having when my kids were born, right? Very much through all these phases, growth, and then you come back in and you get into a comfortable spot. So those are all good things. So the things that I want to stay in my comfort zone have actually been through this whole routine and have swung back around and are sitting in comfort right now. And right now, I don't want those to move. Those are a good place. Those are things that are supporting me. So what's that next step? So first step is establishing your comfort zone. If you are someone who is going, I don't have anything in my comfort zone. And I'm going to tell you, you're not alone, because I had several people who reached out to me yesterday who said, I don't have anything in my comfort zone. Everything in my world is in fear. I'm really sitting in fear right now in a lot of places. And that is very, very, very real. And that is very, very, very powerful. Like, to recognize that everything that you're doing is sitting in the fear zone. And it is very common right now. We have had a rough few years. Everybody has. The world has shifted, world has changed, and so many of us had our comfort zones ripped out from underneath us over the last few years and threw us in the fear zone, and we don't know how to get out of it. So if that's you, first of all, understand you are not alone. You are very much not alone. And my number one goal, if that is you, is to help you reestablish some comfort zone places. Because before you can move to learning and to growth, the number one step is to reestablish some comfort zone things and to find some small things that can give you that comfort. Maybe it is finding a person in your life. Maybe it is finding some techniques that can help just lower the anxiety, finding some routine. It's going to be different for everyone, but I promise you, we can find it. So if this is you and you're really starting to struggle of how can I find this, let's talk. Okay. Let's really, dive in and start looking at this. And part of the thing, with the Habit Finder assessment that I offered to you guys yesterday, if you have not taken that Habit Finder assessment yesterday, you can still take it and grab a time. Once you've taken it, I will send you an email with a link to my calendar to schedule a debrief. The debrief is 100% free. And we're going to look at it. And through that, we're going to take that and we're going to also take your list like this. If you've created it, and if you haven't, you can still create it. And we're going to use this and help you find those pieces and use all of that with where are your habits of thinking. So definitely make sure you're doing it, especially if you're struggling to create something in your comfort zone. Okay. And I'm going to talk after I go through all this, I'm going to give you a couple of tips of things that I like to do that bring some comfort that can start to establish those routines, because that's where finding comfort is. Comfort is finding a routine, something that works, and falling into it. And we want to make sure that those things that we choose as we start to create them are healthy. Whereas, my comfort zone of food, not such a healthy habit. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So we want to make sure that if you don't have comfort zone things and we're going to create them, we're going to create some healthy ones, some healthy things to help you find that comfort within you. So I'm going to take you through my chart, and your goal, your task today, part of your challenge is going to be to do the same thing with your chart that I am going to talk you through right now. So on my comfort zone, I chose 2 things that I want to take through to the next levels. Okay. The first one I'm actually going to talk about is my daily work routine, which I've been working on for quite a while. This is not new to get myself out of my comfort zone in this. I have been in cycles with this. This is not my first time around with my daily work routine. I go through it. I take myself through all of this, and I came back and I found a really good comfort zone, and I've been sitting there for a while, and that's okay. My life started really happening to me. Crazy life started happening to me about 2 summers ago. June of 2021, life started smacking me in the face. And so I had to really rely on my comfort zone, and I sat in my comfort zone in a lot of places. One of that was in my business building. I was very comfortable. I knew what I wanted. And I had a great routine down. And life, thankfully, the stuff that was smacking me in the face, most of that has calmed down now. Life continues to happen, but it started to calm. So I've set some really big goals for myself, because now I'm ready to take things to the next level. So my daily work routine, which has been working for me just fine for quite a while, but I'm ready to step it up. So you can see the arrows go across. This goes across to where am I in the fear zone in this one? Well, business growth, because I want to take things to the next big level. I am super excited to really be honing in and helping as many people as I possibly can do things exactly like this. That's my mission in life. So what have I done over the past year? I've picked up some new certifications. I'm working on 2 certifications now. I have reached out. I've started talking to new people. I've really started to branch out. And I have set some taking my business growth to the next big level. That's a little scary, folks, because again, I was sitting here in a very good comfort zone and helping the people that I was helping and loving it and doing great. But I know there's so much more. I know there's so much more out there for me. And so I have set some big goals for my business growth. So that's a little scary to me. But I've now taken that through. It's still sitting in the fear zone. I have not crossed it out of the fear zone yet because I'm still working on it. There is still some fear. But as I talked about yesterday, fear can stand for 2 different things. But the one that I choose to use with that, and I actually want to stay a bit in the fear zone. I want that to be there because I want it to be scary, because what does it do? It says face everything and rise. What is scary to me, and how am I going to rise from it? How am I going to use that fear to drive me forward? So I actually don't want that to leave the fear zone right now, because what's going to happen when it leaves the fear zone completely? I'm going to fall back into a comfort zone again. I'm going to get into this learning. I'm going to learn some stuff, and then I'm going to get really comfortable, and I'm going to stay there. So I want this to stay in that fear zone a little bit, but it goes here over, and actually there should be 2 arrows. It should go from there to the top 2 things, and they're really sort of connected. So the first one is some new certifications. I'm in the process of getting 2 new certifications that are going to take me, and give me more tools to help people. It's a little scary to take on 2 new certifications all at one time, but it's also really fun because the tools that I'm getting from both of them, using them together has been really powerful. So that is, and I'm launching some new opportunities for people. I'm stepping up these 5-day challenges. This one is the first one that I've done in a long time. There are going to be a whole series of them. So stay tuned. Some new opportunities to help people, right? So that is where I'm learning with each one of these things, and the feedback that you give me, I'm learning from this so that I can then go on and really begin practicing my new techniques for my new certifications and take you guys. And that's where I'm growing. Every time I do things like this, I stay in the growth zone, right? So that has gone across to all the categories, right? So this is really important to see how these connect across. And that's what I'm going to want you to do. I want you to take something and connect the dots as to what is already in all of your categories. And if you have something that is in 1 to 2 categories, is there a way? Are you ready to take it to the next category? Is that the next thing? Is that the next thing? And how can you? What can you do? But what I really want to focus on today is something that's sitting in your fear that doesn't go across. So today we're going to focus on fear, because fear, face everything and rise. How are we going to take that and help us rise instead of retreat, instead of pull back, right? So that one for me, I'm working on my food. So I have struggled with using food as a comfort for the majority of my life. I am 46 years old. And 7 years ago, I started on the next level of my journey. It's been a journey for me for many, many years since I was a teenager, but really about 7 years ago, I really realized how much I used food for comfort and how that was not serving me in any way, shape, or form. It wasn't serving me physically. It wasn't serving me emotionally. It was not serving any part of my life. And I went on a journey 7 years ago to make a big change in that. And and over the last 7 years, I have done a lot of things to shift that. And I have had so much growth. I can't tell you, I've been through this with food many, many, many times in the last 7 years. But where am I back again? I'm back food, going into fear. And that is really real for you guys. I want to point this out, and I want to use this for you because we all have these things in our lives. And we go from comfort to fear to learning to growth. And it comes back to comfort to fear. It makes this circle. Sometimes it makes the circle because we've gotten to growth and we turn into comfort zone again over here. And it gets really good and we get comfortable, and then we want to grow, and then we decide we want to take it to the next level and grow. Or sometimes, like in my world right now, life happens to us and we slip back into old habits. So remember, a habit is a relic of past goals. A habit is, I like to talk about the drunk monkey, that voice from the past. It's reminding us, but it worked last time, but it made you feel good last time, but, right? All the that's happening over there. And it will pull you back instead of getting back into the comfort zone because you've moved forward. There's 2 ways to hit that comfort zone again. One is because you've moved forward, and the other is because you've slipped back into those old habits. That's real. It's all real. It's all okay. And it happens to every single one of us. You know what that means? It means we're human. When we create a habit, it is creating a neural pathway in our brain. And that neural pathway can never be erased. People that say, I'm going to break this habit. There is no such thing as breaking a habit. You cannot get rid of an old habit. You can replace an old habit. You can create new habits, but that neural pathway is always there. And so the goal is to create new habits that are stronger and louder than those old habits. But for me, for something like turning to food, that has been a habit for 46 years. I've been working on it for the last 7. So for 39 years, it was a solid habit. For the last 7 years, I've been working on it. Which do you think is a stronger neural pathway? Clearly, since I'm back in the comfort zone and have slipped back into that comfort zone, the old one is still the stronger habit, the stronger neural pathway. It's real. It's going to happen, and it happens to all of us. So if you're finding yourself in that place, give yourself a little grace, recognize it, honor it, know it, make a decision. I don't want to stay here anymore, however long that takes. Okay. So 2 years ago, June of 2021, really for most of us, March of 2020, life smacked us in the face. But really for me, that first year in COVID, slowly it was smacking me. And it wasn't, my new neural pathways were able to be louder and stronger. But June 2021, life really smacked me in the face. And it started a cycle of things that happened. And that old neural pathway of food being comfort was louder and louder and louder. And I let it be. And that's real. It happens, but it's okay that it happens. Now it's June of 2023, and I have decided, when you decide, that means you're going to take immediate and massive action to make that change. I have decided that I'm going to have that other neural pathway that I've been working on for 7 years be the louder one. And I'm going to go back and start working on it. Now, here, am I exactly where I was 7 years ago? Absolutely not. There are some very important healthy habits that I've created over the last 7 years that have hung on tight. And those neural pathways are strong. And those are the things that I'm going to dip into. But here, you can see my little arrow comes over here. Where am I in the fear zone with that? My fear zone is reestablishing the healthy habits that have been neglected. So I'm really honest about that. So that's what I want you to take. I want you to take one thing that's in your fear zone that doesn't already go all the way across. And I could have listed other things here, but I want to really hone in on this one. So take this, and I want you to take that one thing. And today's assignment is to take that one thing, and either you can do it on your chart here, or you can create another chart. If you're going to do it on your chart, use a different color pen. I will not use my purple pen on this. And I want you to sort of brain dump. What are these things? Why is this scary? What is scary about it? And for me, reestablishing healthy habits that have been neglected, what are some of those things that I want to reestablish? And just brain dump them out. There's no right or wrong to this. The list can be as long or as short as you want, just right. Okay? Because you're not going to do them all at one time. I have a whole bunch of things that I want to put here, but once we do this, we're going to pick one thing, because to start to move from fear to learning, it's with one thing, okay? One piece across, and it's going to take us across, and then we do 2, and then we do 3 later on. But we want to start. But the first important task is to observe it, to recognize it, to honor it, and to say, this is where I'm going to start. If you make a list of 10 things that fall underneath your thing in fear and say, I'm going to do all 10 of these things starting now, I'm telling you right now, you will not do all 10 of those things. You will probably do 0 of them, because it's going to get really overwhelming. You might do 1 or 2 or 3. You might do all 10 for a few days, but at some point it's going to get really overwhelming and you're not going to be able to stick to it. But if you pick one and start adding that in one little bit at a time, one thing, and I honestly tell you to pick the one least scary thing so that you can get that win, that's going to be really powerful. And we're going to take it through. So that's today's assignment, is to pick something from your fear zone, brain dump what it is that's so scary about it, and then start looking at things that you want to start changing within it. And we're going to take that, one of those things, and we're going to talk about learning zone tomorrow. We're going to go through all of these. Tomorrow is all going to be about learning zone and how we can do this. So today, though, we have to recognize it. We have to pay attention to it. We have to honor it. And we want to thank it. The truth is, fear, face everything and rise. How are you going to begin to rise? Right? But if you don't have something in the comfort zone first, you need comfort to rely on, right? Especially since we're taking this from here. If I don't have something else to rely on, this is what's going to end up being relied on again. But I have all these things. So what's in my comfort zone, right? The last thing that I didn't talk about in my comfort zone are my tones. This is really important, and I want to talk about this. The tones are not for everybody. If you've never tried them, though, and you would like to try my tones, I talk about them a lot. I would be happy to let you try them. This is something that I can do that I don't need anybody else to do. I don't need anybody else. It doesn't revolve around anybody else. It revolves around me. It is a tool that I use that helps me lower my anxiety, clear emotions, and just sort of settle down, which is sometimes what I really need in comfort. And it brings me a lot of comfort, and it brings me a routine. So I have a very set routine in the mornings. I get up in the mornings and I sit outside on my back porch and I run my tones and I sit and listen to them, sometimes for 3 minutes, sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for 10 minutes, sometimes for 45 minutes, depending on how much time I have in the day and what I have to do next. But that is something that brings me great comfort. And that's what you want to find, is something that doesn't necessarily rely on somebody else, where you can bring comfort into your own life. So I love my tones, but there are some tools that I want to give to you that you can also use to do this. One of those that is really super powerful for people is brain dump journaling. Take a piece of paper, take a whatever, a notebook, whatever it is that you have. And I find it's better if you actually take pen to paper, pencil to paper, instead of trying to type it. There is definitely a different neuro process when we do this versus when we type. So, or when we voice note something. So I recommend getting a pen and a piece of paper and starting to that just brain dump journal and listing that out. And that can be really cathartic for people. It's really cathartic for me when I do it. And it can be really, really a good, powerful comfort zone piece to just admit it. Put out there what you're nervous about, what you're fearful about, what's controlling you, all of those things, because there's no right or wrong for that. So that's one tool that I love to help people start to establish a comfort zone with. Another tool that I like to teach people is somatic breathing. So your power of your breath, just to relax your whole body and to find some comfort in yourself, is really powerful. There are two different breathing techniques that I like to teach. The first one is 4x4x4. It's box breathing. So you breathe in for 4, you suck in for, or breathe in for 4 breaths for the count of 4, hold to the count of 4, and breathe out to the count of 4. And usually doing this in for 4 cycles, doing 4 of those, is a great place to start. The other kind of breathing that I also really like, which takes this to the next level, is 4x7x8, where you breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and out for 8, real slow. And that also, again, in starting with 4 cycles of this, just relaxes your whole body, helps you find comfort within yourself. Because it's just like when we give a pacifier to a baby, or, something, or they find their thumb or whatever it is, they're finding a way to self-soothe. And that's really important for all of us, to find a way to self-soothe. The other thing that I like to do, I like to lace up my sneakers and go for a walk. Sometimes I turn on my tones or turn on some other music, but usually it's my tones that I'll listen to while I'm taking a walk. Something that allows us to self-soothe. Because if we're not self-soothing, that anxiety builds up, and that fear zone builds up, and all of those things, and the stress builds up, and we have to let it go. Because if we don't let it go, all of a sudden we blow in some way, shape, or form, or we fall into other things, other unhealthy comfort zone things. Like me, food, right? Food is where I fall. But so many, and I'm working not to fall. That's why I am actively putting in other techniques so that I can work on making that shift. So hopefully this is helpful for you. Today, don't forget, your assignment is to take one thing in your fear zone and brain dump it out, and start to think about what is scary about it, why is it scary, and what are all the different action steps you might be able to take to start moving forward. You're not going to take them all, but brain dump them all out as to what they are. And then we're going to come back, post a picture of that, whether it's on this same page or whether you create another piece of paper just with your piece listed at the top, and post that in the comments below underneath this video today in the Healthy Habit Hustle and the Healthy Habit Blueprint group. And, so that we can start to look at it. And all of these, if you have not taken the Habit Finder assessment, go ahead and take it. That's 100% free. Your debrief is 100% free, and we will be using this. The more we do these things, the more we can come up with a plan for you to look at your habits of thinking. How are they affecting you? And how are they keeping you in the comfort zone? How are they keeping you locked in the fear zone? How are you turning your learning zone into a comfort zone instead of taking it to the next step into your growth zone? We're going to look at all those pieces. So I hope this was helpful. I will see you guys back here tomorrow, where we're going to be expanding out that learning zone. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to comment in the group or send me a private message if it's not something you want to put out there, and we'll definitely tackle it. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.